Hello, and welcome to the Drumscape Library Podcast number 1.
Welcome. It's us again. We're still alone. No guest features this time, but we promise we're working on it. However, as will be always the case, we made sure to bring some banging tunes for you to listen to, and hopefully some interesting conversation topics along the way.
Yeah, I actually have a few conversation topics to start off with, but the first one is that I'm really tired. I didn't sleep at all last night. I slept I was meant to sleep like 6 hours, and I kept waking up all the time. Just not good, not what you want.
Ouch, dude. I mean, I probably got like a healthy 6.5 hours of sleep last night, which is a good time.
Ooh.
But I am personally feeling a bit under the weather today because I think I might be getting sick. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but hopefully it's nothing. But
that's why we both have tea right in front of us.
That's exactly why we both have tea. And we are also both hoping that our personal state of well-being is not going to affect the quality of the podcast in any negative way.
Talking about feeling a bit under the weather, I was actually past 2 months. Well, overall, I hate winter time because it's seasonal depression. Everyone knows that, or at least most people do, I think. And I think for the first time ever, I really actually experienced a proper depression this winter, and it really killed my creativity.
Ouch.
And that's actually what I want to talk about, is creativity and stuff like that, because I kind of got fed up with making music, got fed up with making drum and bass especially. And the way I actually found my way out of this creative hole was that I said, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna start making some really weird, really wonky stuff. And especially I've been lowering my BPMs from the 174 all the way down to as slow as 140.
That's new territory for you, I guess.
Yeah, I've been making some really wonky, weird breaks, like breakbeaty stuff with some half-time elements and some, I don't know, it's like neuro, but it's not neuro at all. It's something different, and I hope to actually get something out of it for future, because it's made me also realize how it's brought a completely new concept idea for inside my mind. So now I have another project in the thoughts that might happen or might not happen. It depends entirely on how I feel and how I just go on with it. It's a project I'm not going to talk anything about the project anymore, because I want to keep it as a very sort of secret thing almost.
Yeah, it's always a bad idea to talk about things publicly when you're not sure that they're going to happen. That's something that I personally kind of experience a lot, where if I don't think that I'll be able to make a release happen or bring out a certain song that I'm working on, I'll try not to announce it to people, because I don't want to create expectations for something that when there's a high probability of it not ever going to be a thing. And I think that's generally a good guideline to stick to when you're working in a creative environment.
Yeah, definitely. Because I've been actually doing the same thing, but I've gone so far with it that I've been a lot of times I work on some song. I have lots of work in progress projects, but I only show them to very selected few people.
Wonder who those people are.
Well, I'm not going to tell you who those people are, but you are one of them.
Of course.
But it's mainly because I think it's actually partly because of I've noticed that my attitude towards taking criticism is actually really bad, in my own opinion. Every time someone gives critiques, you should always take it with just a hint of salt, because it's their opinion ultimately. Even though if it might be incredibly technical, incredibly well rehearsed, it's still opinionated criticism. Unless your song is actually absolute shit, but well, whatever.
It's always good to be like aware of, you know, where the person is coming from when they're critiquing something you did. And like it's also like important to differentiate between what is opinion and what is like technical advice, because those, like, especially when you're giving feedback, I personally always make sure that I like denote whether it's one or the other, because I know that sometimes it's not like entirely trivial to distinguish that if you are the person who is receiving feedback. And ultimately, it's like all the creative decisions that concern a song are ultimately up to the artist, and you can try to give your opinion on whether you think those decisions are good or not, but it's difficult to assign any kind of objective quality to them, as opposed to like technical stuff, which is most of the time fairly objective. So yeah, just my 2 cents on feedback here.
So this is the part where Lenny had to go to check up on his family for making noise on the background. So, where did we leave off?
We were just discussing like feedback, I guess.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, actually, let's talk about the feedback thing. Like, yeah, well, you were just finished with your words, so to go on a bit more about criticism and the way I've noticed that I've been taking like criticism kind of badly. I've been taking it badly for like a long time. I think it's just I can't handle it well, but I've become more aware of it. So I've just decided to not show like some works in progress to people just in general, and it's helped me to both receive criticism better and just not care too much about what other people think about my stuff. And the way I take criticism nowadays is that when I get criticized for my work, I do take it, I do consider it, I often use it to actually change what I've done, but I always throw my completely own like spin to the criticism. That if someone says my snare isn't snappy enough and that I need to change the whole snare in the ultimate case, I don't actually always change the snare. I just completely change I add either like a snare layer on it, or I change the snare, like I still keep the sample the same, but I manipulate it. I completely malform it to something else. And overall sound design, well, sound design, you can't really criticize sound design that much because it's such a creative process. Except that there are certain things to sound design that need to be like, you need to be careful with. You need to look at what sounds work the best, what frequencies work the best with human ear, and what's like really annoy your ear, especially with the high end and high mids.
Yeah, I feel like with sound design, the part that is most likely to be criticized in sound design is the intersection between sound design and both composition and mixing. The sounds by themselves are never really the problem. It's either how they are used in the song or how they are mixed in the song that is the problem. Which I think both are things that can be objectively criticized. I hear what you're saying about how, like, if you hear someone making comments about your song, the first thing that you need to do is like go back and listen to it. And like, if you recognize the problem that they're pointing out, you should try and fix the problem. If you absolutely do not recognize the problem that they're pointing out, it's time to either like have a third party look over it and see if they see it or not, or just say that like, this is a creative decision that you have full control over. And if you're happy with the decision you make, then you should go with it. Like, you don't have to write a song that is going to appeal to every person out there. You primarily want to write a song that you like yourself. So I feel like that's a valid road to take, and it's one that I've taken quite a lot of times already, where if someone tells me something that I think is a good decision is not a good decision, then I go to someone I trust and I ask what they think about it. And if my assumptions are reaffirmed, then I just decide that it's not worth doing anything about it because I like what it is and I don't There's no objective reason to change it. If they say that they see the problem, then I'll think about it. Because a lot of the time when you're working on a song, you kind of get stuck in a bubble where you don't really hear any alternative solutions to things anymore because you're so used to what's already there. And sometimes just completely erasing a section and trying to write it from scratch is a huge help to up the overall quality of your track. There's a lot of instances in my own songs when I did this, and I was ultimately a lot happier with the finished product than I was with the intermediate stage. So I think I'd advise everyone to consider using that kind of flowchart sort of procedure when dealing with feedback.
Yeah, that was a nice talk from you. I kind of spaced out for a moment. You just stopped talking. I was like, what's happening? Oh, because I was going through in my head like about the happiness thing. Because I think like if you're happy about something you've made, you definitely should like not get too upset when someone says it's not good enough. Well, it's kind of hard to say that because you've just been so proud of something you've made, and then someone just comes in, hey, you're bad. And it's like, oh, okay, so thanks.
I mean, it always depends, right? Like if you just started making music 2 weeks ago and you're proud of something you made, then that just means like you're proud of the learning experience that you have just had. Like, even if it's something entirely simple, like you need to recognize in those situations that nothing that you make after 2 weeks of using FL Studio is going to be like objectively good in any frame of reference related to like actual music that's commercially available. So you need to be self-aware enough to like be able to categorize your skill set on a scale of technical competence. And if you can do that, then it's perfectly fine to be happy with the things that you make within that frame of reference that you build for yourself. It's where things get difficult for you and for other people who want to help you is when you assess your competence to be more than it actually is. I think that's where like toxic attitudes arise from a lot of the time. Or attitudes of entitlement.
Welcome to the Drumscape Library episode number 1. Where Bank Pain talks. It's nice, but that's the point of this podcast. I wanted to make it so that we talk more, and it's nice to hear that you are carrying the podcast all the way to the end. Because it's nice, because thing is that I feel like I have all the ideas of what to talk about and how to say them, or not how to say them, but just kind of, yeah. But knowing how to say them is entirely different, because I have no idea what I'm saying most of the time. I just speak whatever comes to my mind. I don't think too much, but you obviously do. You think a lot more than I do.
I mean, those are things that I think about a lot in general. Like, it's something that is interesting to me as a concept. Like, how do people react to the learning curve of a craft that they want to pursue? And like, how do they interact in a community of like-minded people? Because like this comes up a lot, obviously, in my day-to-day interactions with people on Twitter or Discord or whatever when I talk to them about music. So yes, that is something that I dedicate some headspace to. So talking about it is actually a nice experience, and I'm glad we can do this.
Yeah, and with me, it's actually the same thing goes for like just universe and what's beyond is really the same thing for me. I could go on for so long about it that I actually actively avoid talking about it because it can like go over the board with me. Same goes with just your own creativity, own creative projects like stories. Stories especially are like a major one for me. I love creating universes, love creating stuff like that. And I've actually just recently, within a year, started like actually writing down a lot of stuff that just comes to my mind. And it's been going really well. And it's also helped my creative output so much more with music, with drawing, and with just writing overall. And I've been learning a lot about writing. Meanwhile, I don't actually read books that much. I might read fanfictions here and there, but for the last year, the only thing I've actually done is writing. I haven't read anything, maybe a few pages or a short story, but never like full-blown sagas or something.
Right. I mean, as far as I understood, like your aspiration here is to just be more effective at writing down ideas that you get when you get them, to like just have a consistent creative output and to be able to categorize your ideas as they come, just to make sure you don't forget things afterwards and you're just always doing something, which I think is actually quite helpful. Like I've written some stuff myself. I don't really see myself as a writer in any like, you know, in any significant sense, but I am a little bit familiar with the process that goes into writing something. So it's the most important thing is to just make sure that you never stop, to be honest.
Yeah. And actually how I've been doing, or what I've been doing, is that I haven't been writing down stuff that comes to my mind immediately. Instead, I've taken a few of the things that I've been wanting to get into that are inside my mind, and I've been getting really, really like detailed into them. I've been making like languages for the universes. I've been making really detailed, like tiny, completely pointless details for the story to create this universe, because that's what I love to do, and that's how I love to do my stories. And that's how I build a lot of my stories from. It starts off as a crazy idea, and then it just starts developing more and more into this intricate piece of shit that it is.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing that, like, in my experience, what happens is if you devote too much time to like writing character sheets for your characters that are like 15 pages long, where you talk about like every single absolutely insignificant thing, like, oh, like what is their blood type, or like you can get caught up in these things in a way that like seriously prohibits writing, like actually writing anything, because you're occupied with these like minute details that have zero effect on your story. But at the same time, I can totally see the appeal of doing that, because that's like actually a lot of fun. So
yeah, like it's very true, because like for characters especially, because characters are such like, they are their own worlds, so to say. Like all of us humans, we have our own universes inside our minds. So it's technically every character is also like little own universe in themselves. That's why I always, when I write characters, instead of actually going into the character's details before I write the story, I do the opposite, actually. I let the story write the character a lot of times. Of course, I have like basic idea, okay, this character is going to be this and this and this, but I usually consider characters part of the universe in a way that I'm only discovering them myself. I'm not actually designing them, even though, well, I'm obviously doing that, but I'm doing the designing as I discover them inside my mind. It's hard to explain, but that's how I view a lot of my universes, a lot of my stories, a lot of stuff that I do. And it helps me with overall creative process a lot of time, because when I do music as well, I just do stuff. Sometimes I discover something amazing, and then I start putting more work into it afterwards. So that's how I work a lot of times. I think many people do this, but I still feel like not that many people do it. I would love to know who else does something like this.
with music, I feel like that's ultimately, like, I don't know, like it's not going to be a thing with traditional music, I imagine, because that's a lot more like predetermined in terms of what is possible for you to do with your instrument.
And that's exactly why I love electronic music so much. Like, electronic music gives you so much more freedom. Everyone considers electronic music to be a genre of music, even though electronic music is its entirely own world. Like, all the other music in the world is basically in the same area as electronic music is on itself. And as we progress forwards with electronic music, and it just keeps growing, and that's like, yeah, it just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, I'm not sure what I just said there, but because my thought just cut in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel like that's already the case, but in the way that electronic music kind of gobbles up certain fringe genres that are like on a tipping point between being analog and digital. Like if you're producing a pop song that has like 3 instrument tracks, but like all of your drums are digital and all of your processing is digital and you're putting lots of melodyne on the lead vocals and everything, like that's not really band music to me anymore. That's like an electronic music song. And I can see what you're saying about like how it's weird that electronic stuff is considered a genre when it's really just like, you know,
a world of its own.
That's exactly like you saying that electronic music is one genre is the same as saying that like country and I don't know, pirate metal are the same genre ultimately. Like that's like verifiably not correct.
But both use an instrument based on the same idea.
Exactly.
Both have guitar.
Exactly.
And in electronic music, we all have like synthesizers and stuff like that. So that's ultimately how I view like the reason why electronic music as itself is so humongous in comparison to everything else as well.
Yeah, ultimately it's like the similarity is that the similarities between different electronic music genres ultimately end at just saying that, oh, well, they use similar tools.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is something that should define a genre, because you can do a lot of things with different tools, especially when your tools are literally like the manipulation of signal. Like you can do literally everything that you want in theory, and saying that all of that is a singular entity feels like a weird position to me.
Yeah, I'd like to consider like drum and bass. I feel like it could be comparable to sort of metal of electronic music in my opinion, because drum and bass is this often really hard but really, really, really varied, like one of the most varied genres in the whole electronic music scene. You can have a drum and bass from the softest, smoothest tracks to just most heavy-hitting abominations. And that's why I like to consider like one joke that I usually like to just a dry joke, okay, but you know, Finnish humor. I like to consider is that jump up is sort of this punk music of electronic like stuff, because jump up drum and bass is like, well, it's rarely really, really good in my opinion, or in most people's opinion, I feel like.
Yeah, no one likes jump up.
But when it's good, it's really, really good. And that's why jump up is this. Jump up, I just feel like it tries to break certain like basics of drum and bass. And that's why I feel like it's sort of the punk music of electronic music, or just punk music of drum and bass, if you will.
Yeah, I feel like there's few genres that have like a similar variety as drum and bass does, but I feel like it's not entirely fair to say that compared to like other genres, because drum and bass can literally be anything that's a drum and bass tempo, right?
Yeah.
If you said that everything that has ever been written at 140 is dubstep, then dubstep would also be like incredibly varied. But that's just not how we define dubstep as a genre. Therefore, I feel like drum and bass is just like it's a subculture all of its own.
Yeah, drum and bass is too powerful. Valve, please fix. Please nerf it. Actually, never nerf drum and bass. I fucking dare you to nerf drum and bass. I'll fucking eat your fucking limbs if you nerf drum and bass.
Okay. Do you want to play some music? Because I've got some drum and bass. I've got like a lot of drum and bass. Like 4 out of the 5 songs that I've picked today are drum and bass.
Yeah, sure. So, what's the first one?
Okay, so the first one I want to play is something that I believe not a lot of people have heard, because the view numbers of the song on YouTube are fairly low. But here's 2 things. The first thing is, this is not a name that you typically associate with drum and bass in the fandom. This is someone who generally lives in the 128 BPM domain. And I'm talking about Eksoka, who I've really kind of I started following them almost a year ago, I believe, when I heard Rain City for the first time, because I was kind of blown away by the ambience of that song, and it's been one of my favorites over like the releases that happened within the past 2 years. Definitely up there.
And just to make up for that humongous amount of talking us two did, we're going to play 2 songs in a row, and what I've chosen as the first song is fairly new, but I wanted to feature it because I liked it so much. It's actually from One Track Mind, and the song is Love Was in Bloom. And it was also featured on Cider Party, which I think it deserved so much. And this track, when I heard it, it's just, well, I really, really, really liked it. And you know how I usually feel about stuff that's not drum and bass. If it's not hard, I usually don't enjoy it that much.
Alright, so the first song is Times Like These by Ponytronic, the Eksoka remix.
explore the shelves of Drumscape library.
Right, so that was interesting. Got some tech house vibes on the show. Good stuff.
Yeah, you know that. But yeah, well, eksoka track, very nice jingles. Yeah, it was nice. Very good stuff. And about one track mind, I have to point out that at like 3 minute mark, the progression that comes in, that just the blocks like just coming slowly in. It's, I love that type of stuff in music, especially electronic music. 88mouse does a lot of that, and it's really nice to hear like stuff like that in this fandom. That the whole track was just so professional sounding to me, and just so polished. I think I really liked it.
I'm surprised you're not using more superstars in your music if that's something you like.
I don't know how to do super sauce. I'm just kidding.
Are you just kidding? Anyway, you got other topics for us lined up, or?
No, not really. I mean, the creativity part was just the main thing. So
okay,
I think we should just straight up rapid fire movements and do this hop, skip, and a jump to the next song.
Sounds good to me. So next up, we've got much more chilled out vibe this time. This is a bit older, but it's a subgenre of drum and bass that is very near and dear to my heart, which is called drum funk. We don't see a lot of it in the fandom. This particular one is a classic from my dude Haiti, Librarian number 3.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
So here goes Haiti in the city. Yeah, boy.
holy vibes. Oi, 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 oi. Hey T, you madman.
Man, I really wish there were more people doing this kind of stuff in the fandom.
Yeah, it's actually, I can safely say that I've been thinking of like if I want to do this kind of stuff, and I've actually tried to do like this kind of like softer or more melodic drum and bass with really nice breaks. The problem is that every time I've started making melodic song, it has ended up being really hard hitting or just really deep, really like dark. And that's the one thing about creativity that I've noticed with music, that I cannot for the life of me just make like really melodic stuff. It has to have that dark undertone or straight up just be dark. Memories was a trial, but even in that the Reese is like kind of a dark Reese. Well, the Memories, I think Memories was a failure. So, well, whatever. Some people enjoy it, so that's nice.
Memories is definitely like not a straight up melodic song, I would say. So, Drumfunk I think is kind of difficult because you have to balance. Drumfunk composition as a whole is actually quite challenging because you really only have to stick to open chords because it's like very ambient music, and you can't dictate the mood of the track too much. It has to feel kind of ambiguous. And I'm personally probably responsible for 50% of the Drumfunk ever released in the fandom. Like Haiti is responsible for the other 50. So I think I would really appreciate if other people would look into it because I enjoy this style so much. And, you know, if you're ever interested, you know, hit me up. I'm right here. Can work out some feedback, some support.
Oh yeah, please send us more music. Even if you think it's not good enough, just send us more music because, well, I'm actually really like available for trying to help you out with making music. Of course, if it's not drum and bass, then think twice before you do that because, well, we feature drum and bass on the channel. But I always love to get like a submission to the channel, always, because we don't get submissions at all usually. So when we do, if it's not good enough, do not lose hope, because I will do my everything to help you to make it good enough. At least I try my hardest. Just don't consider me some god, because I'm really, as bad as I am taking critiques, I am also kind of bad at giving critiques. Bankpain's good at giving critiques, but I don't know how he feels about it.
Well, I'm very open to like helping people out, especially when you approach us like as a channel. I feel like we're kind of taking on this like role of not just showcasing drum and bass in the fandom, but also curating drum and bass in the fandom. And I feel like part of that is helping people make it if they so desire. So, like, definitely, like, we're always open for submissions and we're always open for giving feedback on your tracks and helping you with things that you might be unsure of, especially when it comes to D&B, but, you know, also other genres. So it doesn't have to be exclusive to drum and bass. So, yeah, with any questions or, you know, demos or anything of that sort, we're always open on Discord or Twitter or wherever else.
Yeah, please just send us more stuff, because we need to fill the shelves of our library. They're still kind of empty. So please, people. Either way, I think we should go on to the next song. And this is, once again, one of my absolute favorite artists in this fandom. And an incredibly underrated artist. He has less subscribers than I do on YouTube, and that's freaking criminal. He's Zizkil, and this is his remix of We Are Friendship Bound, and he did good vibes. He did good job on this one.
good vibes.
Yeah, that was good. Anyways, onwards to the next one. Yeah!
was saying.
This was the I Blank to Apples remix of Protocat Hope Shines Eternal. We actually have the original up on our channel, but this alternate version I also just love. Like, iBlank in general is a wonderful producer, and this particular song is one of the best like dance floor D&B tunes that were ever released in the fandom, in my opinion.
And from me, iBlank to Apples, please make more music, because man, you're so good.
Definitely,
I need more of that sauce.
I support that most.
I need that sauce, boy.
All right. How many songs do you still have to play? 2? 3?
Quite a few. And this one is making a double comeback into this podcast. Is once again Protocat and again Haiti with their song Autumn Leaves.
Oh fuck yes, that's like, oh, I love that song so much. It's beautiful in every possible way. It's good stuff. That's
yeah. Let's just get into it. Yeah, you can always trust into Protocat, you can always trust into Haiti to make something amazing.
Absolutely. Very good stuff.
I think you need to play us your third song.
I've already played 3 songs.
I think you need to play us your fourth song.
Okay, so the 4th song is the like non-horse section, I guess.
Sure, I mean, whatever you want. You don't have to like play it as a certain part. You can just decide whenever you want to play it, but whatever.
Well, I mean, our schedule is like 4 pony songs and 1 non-pony song, right?
Yeah, at the moment, yes.
Okay, so...
It can change.
Sure. 4 plus 1 seems like a good ratio. So, for the non-pony song that I wanted to showcase this week, I've chosen something that's not entirely fresh off the press. It's been out for a few years, but it's a beautiful display of everything that liquid drum and bass should be by 3 names that should be incredibly familiar to anyone who, you know, listens to the genre. So here goes Malaky, Satl, and Silence Groove, Skyfall.
Oh, that's actually names that I have not heard, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you're not super huge into liquid, so that's understandable.
Damn, son. That's some smooth stuff you got there.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. I think here's the thing, like I listen to so much drum and bass that I'm pretty sure I have heard that song at some point in a mix or just as a standalone. Doesn't really matter. Nonetheless, I probably heard it, but I don't remember the names of artists or the names of the songs that don't really speak to me like on that hardcore level, because I'm a hardcore dude. Okay, that was a lie. But I go pretty hard, and I need pretty hard music. So yeah, but that was really nice. Nice basic liquid drum bass.
Sounds good.
Legendary.
So, what did you bring for us today?
Oh yeah. Making it for the third time in this episode, we are going to feature the master the myth, the legend, the third librarian himself, Hey, with one of his songs that I'm almost saying that it's my favorite song of his, even though it's not, but because I don't have a real favorite, but it's one of them.
Well, my favorite is clearly Autumn Leaves. That's like the undisputed champion of Haiti songs. But...
Don't cut me off, fucking...
The song is Epilogue from his short stories EP.
Yes. Well, actually, concerning the short stories EP, here's a quick background info on me, if anyone's interested in those. I don't imagine a lot of people are, but, just in case. Prologue from that same EP was one of the 2 songs that directly inspired my track Sunny's Theme, which incidentally was the first Pony song that I ever wrote that was featured on Cider Party that initially kickstarted my career in the Pony fandom. So, in some sense, Short Stories EP is the reason I'm here. So, shout out to Haiti. Good man.
Yes, actually, Haiti's stuff was also a part of a large inspiration for my drum and bass. When I was making drum, well, it always is. Haiti is... he has that skill for just doing drum and bass. It doesn't matter if he uses samples or not. He has that certain skill, that precision. Just, I don't know, it's a talent. I think it's a talent. But Epilogue, in this, the piano is... Actually, I remember hearing this for the first time, and I got completely lost. I got completely lost in this own world of mine. And I was just listening to it on repeat for like 4 times in a row before I woke out of it. So prepare for a ride. Yep, it's still as good as I remembered. It's still as good as I remembered.
Definitely huge track.
I wouldn't call it huge, but it's...
Well, huge not in the like festival sense. But...
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, but I would not describe it as huge overall. It's because it's not a huge song. It's just beautiful.
Fair enough.
It's magnificent, but I know what you mean. I just have to pipe in with my own, well... No, it's not huge. It's beautiful. No, that's me.
Well, actually, that's not huge. Okay, never mind. Let's move on.
Yeah.
We've got 2 more songs coming up.
Yeah, but before we get into those 2 songs, I think I'm going to mention right here, right now, that of course when we are recording this episode, it's a bit earlier than when this releases. But on the 22nd of February, something exciting has happened, and that's the I Dream shirt done by Solar.
Oh, yes.
And I think we should talk about it really shortly.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely worth talking about because Solar did a great job with it, and I am like incredibly impressed at how our song has inspired artwork that is actually like so interesting and so professionally rendered. So yeah, Solar has made some shirt designs based on our songs Ghost in the Dream or Ghost in the Dream VIP, depending, which have been released through Ponies at Dawn. Oh, help me out. Ponies at Dawn Anthology and Ponies at Dawn Enigma, respectively. And those are, as of now, available on his Redbubble site, and you should go check them out because they look really cool, and Solar deserves some support for the great work that he does.
Yeah. And the thing with the shirt is that I remember Solar like huge shoutouts to the man. Solar, he came to me originally, just talking about it. And as soon as I like received this message like explaining what's going on, I was like, bravo, what? That's mad. And like when he showed his design, the sketch, I remember it was like only like a few... It was like not even an hour. I'm not sure. It might have been an hour or more or less. But it was nonetheless, it just happened like really quickly. And suddenly there was like this almost finished version of this shirt that he shared to me. I was like, bro, that looks so sick. Solar did amazing job with it. Thank you, man. That was really fucking good.
And of course, we'll put the link to the Redbubble site in the description. So if you want to check that out, it's right there. But yeah, I think we should move on to our last 2 tracks now. Trix, what do you have for us?
As the second to last song, I have Shyun and Cruk, Wreckage. And this song was released on Critical Music or Critical Recordings. And it's my favorite label, obviously, because I keep constantly I keep buying everything they do release, along with Meth Lab. Meth Lab and Critical Music are my 2 favorite labels on drum and bass, and it shows. I buy a lot of their stuff. But yeah, let's move on to it.
was pretty excellent. I love the ambience in the intro. The vocal pads are absolutely beautiful, and not to mention the drop, which is so beautifully composed.
Oh, the drop, man. That drop. When I first heard this song, just like when it was released a week or two ago, a few weeks ago, let's say, like let's put it like that. I'm not sure anymore. I've been a bit tired, so. But yeah, it was instantly just slammed me. It slam dunked me down on the earth. I was floored for like a minute. The drop, and especially when the drop switches to the B section, it's just oi. Like I love drum and bass, man. Solid stuff.
Absolutely. So, I guess it's time for us to wrap up this podcast. I think we've had a lot of talking in here. Not too much discussion of songs this time, but this is just going to be varying from time to time, and whatever.
That's it. Let's just wrap it up. Slap on the last song and let's just get out of this house.
Yeah, I'm going to bring the outro song this week, which I think is about as perfect of an outro song as can be. As such, you can just lean back, close your eyes, and enjoy the last couple minutes of DSL Podcast 001. And of course, the song that I'm talking about is one of my all-time favorites released in the fandom, Vilnius by ALfiux.
Yeah, so just lay back and enjoy the song.
Beautiful vibes.